The people who multitask the most are the worst at it, not slightly worse. Measurably, consistently worse. On every cognitive test researchers can design, and the cruelest part? They're the ones most convinced they're good at it. That belief is costing you more than you realize. Think about the last time you tried to do real, concentrated work. You sat down with the best intentions, then, without quite deciding to, your hand moved to your phone, or a notification post. You checked it just for a second. You returned to your work, but the thread was gone. You reread the same line twice. The idea you were building dissolved. 90 minutes later, you closed your laptop feeling drained with almost nothing to show for it. That feeling has a name, and it's not laziness. There is a hidden mechanism inside every task switch your brain makes, a cognitive tax that accumulates silently across your entire day, and that explains why the busiest people often accomplish the least. Once you understand it, you cannot unsee it, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stop paying it. The mechanism is called attention residue, but to understand it, you first need to understand what your brain is actually doing when you think it's multitasking. Your brain does not multitask. What it does is switch, rapidly redirecting a single attentional spotlight from one task to another. And switching has a cost that simultaneous processing does not. In 2009, a team at Stanford University recruited 262 undergraduates and divided them into heavy and light media multitaskers, then ran both groups through a battery of cognitive control tests. The results stunned the researchers. Heavy multitaskers performed worse on every single test. They were more susceptible to irrelevant information. They had greater difficulty filtering distractors. On the task-switching test, they showed 167 milliseconds greater switch costs than light multitaskers. And crucially, the heavy multitaskers believed they were better. They had built an identity around their ability to juggle. The data showed the opposite. The likely explanation: chronic multitasking actively degrades the neural machinery required for focus. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate cortex, the brain regions responsible for directing attention and suppressing distraction, appeared to function with a persistent bias towards scattered, broad attention rather than narrow, goal-directed concentration. Every time you practice fragmented attention, you are training your brain to be worse at sustained focus. But here's where it gets stranger. You might think a quick interruption barely matters. One notification, 10 seconds. How damaging could it be? Gloria Mark at UC Irvine spent years observing knowledge workers in their natural office environments. In one study, after being interrupted, workers took an average of more than 23 minutes to fully return to the original task, passing through roughly 2 or 3 intermediate tasks along the way. And it didn't matter whether the interruption was related to their work or not. Every interruption carried the same massive recovery cost. That 10-second notification check isn't costing you 10 seconds. This is where attention residue comes in. Sophie Leroy at the University of Minnesota found that when you switch from one task to another before finishing the first, part of your attention literally stays behind. A residue of cognitive activity about the incomplete task keeps running in the background, occupying the very working memory resources you need for the new task. Working memory, the mental workspace where all active thinking happens, can hold roughly 4 to 7 chunks of information at once. Information begins to decay within 15 to 30 seconds without active rehearsal. It is an extraordinarily tight system. When attention residue is filling those slots, your capacity for real thinking narrows dramatically. A typical knowledge worker switches tasks every 3 minutes and 5 seconds. If each switch leaves even a brief residue, most of your productive hours are spent at reduced cognitive capacity. Not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is physiologically paying the cost of constant switching. Most people believe they can train themselves out of this, that with enough practice, switching gets cheaper. But research shows this is an illusion. Even after extensive practice, switch costs persist at 200 to 300 milliseconds per transition. And the Stanford study confirmed. Chronically switching doesn't build a stronger brain, it builds a more distracted one. The people who feel most comfortable multitasking are often the people whose attention filters have been most degraded. The feeling of productivity is real. The productivity itself is not. This myth persists partly because task switching delivers a reliable neurological reward. Every time you check a notification or flip to an easier task, your brain gets a small dopamine signal. Technology platforms are specifically engineered to exploit this, using unpredictable reward schedules, the same structure as a slot machine, to make checking behavior compulsive. The busyness feels real. The output doesn't match it. The good news, this is fixable, and the fixes come in 3 levels. The easiest thing you can do today costs nothing. Before your next focus session, put your phone in a different room, not face down on your desk, another room. What is consistent across research is simple. A phone in another room cannot interrupt you, and it cannot generate the phantom urge to check that silently depletes your attention throughout a session. If you want to go further, build a protected focus block. Choose your single most important task. Set a timer for 90 minutes. Keep a small notepad beside you, and whenever a distracting thought arises, an email to send, something you forgot, write it down instead of acting on it. Leroy's research shows this creates cognitive closure. The brain's signal that the thought has been captured, which significantly reduces the attention residue that would otherwise bleed into your work. For a complete system, run 1 week of what you might call a notification fast. Disable every non-essential notification. Move social media apps off your home screen. The friction of searching for them is enough to interrupt the automatic opening reflex. Schedule 2 15-minute windows per day for social media and use a timer. A University of Pennsylvania study found that limiting social media to 30 minutes per day produced significant reductions in loneliness and depression over 3 weeks. You are not eliminating access. You are replacing unpredictable, engineered reward cycles with ones you control. Tonight, before you sleep, disable all non-essential notifications and plug your phone in outside your bedroom. It takes 5 minutes. A 2016 study from the University of British Columbia found that simply silencing phones produced meaningful reductions in inattention during waking hours. Removing it from your bedroom also protects your sleep and your morning cortisol awakening response, the gradual hormonal rise your brain needs before being hit with a screen. The person who wakes up tomorrow without reaching for their phone first will have measurably more directed attention available for whatever matters most that day. 7 days from now, 1 protected focus block a day will likely show you something unfamiliar. The feeling of actually finishing something. Ideas that connect. Problems that resolve. That is what your brain produces when it isn't constantly paying the switching tax. 30 days from now, something deeper shifts. You stop being the person who is always busy but never caught up, and start becoming the kind of person who knows how to concentrate, who can sit with hard work without flinching. One question to leave you with. What is the one task you keep avoiding because you can never get deep enough into it to make real progress? Drop it in the comments. And if this kind of thinking is useful to you, subscribing means you won't miss what's coming next.